Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire, is becoming known as the worst movie of 2023. And while I didn't see every movie that came out last year, of those that I saw, I have to concur. It wasn't like Ant-Man 3, the decline in a franchise we've seen coming for a while. It wasn't painfully dumb like Meg 2 The Trench. Nor did it put me to sleep like 65 did.
You fell asleep during this masterpiece?
How could you? Adam Driver is a national treasure.
I am just riveted. That is
All right, now,
great.
Can you please summarize the plot? What do you think of this inciting incident? Can you give us a rundown of what we've watched thus far?
Yeah. I don't think I can put into words, Dan.
Try.
Rebel Moon is in a category all by itself. According to Zack Snyder, it's been a project on the back burner for many years, even pitched as a Star Wars film before being rejected and made into its own thing. But therein lies the problem. It's not its own thing. This movie is a crazy quilt of ideas taken from other franchises and clumsily put together. Tug on any of the pieces and they begin to unravel. Star Wars, Warhammer, Seven Samurai, to name a few, and normally there's nothing wrong with taking an idea from another story or being inspired by something you saw in another movie, but you have to take that idea, that inspiration, and make it your own, and make it work. And this movie does not work. The slow motion, the poor fight scenes, the cringy dialogue, and the 1001 story ideas taken from other franchises that go nowhere. There are scenes like Tarak riding the Bennu that do nothing. They tell us nothing about the characters, nor do they add anything to the story. The scenes are just there because they look cool. And the characters, if they can be called that, are some of the blandest characters I've seen in a movie since Twilight. Of those that we meet in Part 1, only one character has an arc, and that's this guy, Gunnar. He starts the film weak, interested in only making a profit, and easily intimidated. By the end of the film, Gunnar rescues a child when all the other heroes stand there looking cool. He frees Korra and kills his first man. But these are things that just happen and then are forgotten about when the scenes are over. We have no idea how Gunnar feels about any of it because he never speaks about it, nor does anyone else mention it. Now, I'm not going to go into full analysis of the movie. There are already a lot on YouTube, and I do mean a lot. Instead, my goal this episode is to rewrite Rebel Moon into something hopefully worth watching. So first, we're going to throw out the title. As Random Film Talk said in his video, why is the moon rebelling? Don't know. Considering most of the movie takes place away from Velt, it can't be about the farmers rebelling against the Mother World. So we're going to take this story and we're going to make it into a trilogy. And we're going to title it The Emperor's Legacy. And the first movie will be called A Princess Rises.
After many years of fighting, the warlord Octavian Quirinus has at last established an empire and crowned himself emperor. 200 star systems pledge fealty to his rule, and the emperor promises to usher in an era of peace. But during the celebration, the emperor and his family are killed by unknown assassins, and amid the chaos, the emperor's youngest daughter, Princess Issa, disappears. The Empire's most decorated general, not Belisarius, we'll call him Cassianus Magnus, is named regent and vows to avenge the slain emperor and find the missing princess. This vow plunges the Empire into civil war. Act 1 takes place 10 years after the prologue and opens on the farming moon Velt, where we are introduced to Gunnar and his 14-year-old daughter Samantha, nicknamed Sam. They are bringing their grain to the mill and chat with the other farmers who are setting aside a portion of their harvest into the communal food storage so that no one in the village will go hungry during the winter. From the skies, the farmers hear the sound of engines and look up. They see several Empire supply ships descending and splitting up, one going to each farming village. The farmers wonder why the Empire has come back since the farmers have already sent the first of their harvest to the Empire. They should not be seeing these ships until spring. Gunnar takes Sam by the hand and tells the village elder that he and his daughter have to do some things at their cottage, and they leave. The supply ship lands on the outskirts of the village, and a squad of 9 soldiers led by a squad leader exit the ship and enter the village. The squad leader tells the assembled farmers that they have returned to collect the rest of the harvest and take as many of the animals as they can. The village elder asks why they paid their tithe a month ago, and the squad leader responds that the village has the rebels to thank for that. The Blood Axe rebels. No, let's call them the Falx Crimsonata, named after its leader, Gaius Falx. The initial members were survivors of a planet that had rebelled against the Empire after the Emperor was slain and they lost, and this band of rebels has now grown into a serious threat against the Empire. The Crimsonata have been attacking the Empire's food storages and supply ships, which has caused a food shortage among the core worlds of the Empire, resulting in the military supply ships being sent out again to all the farming planets and moons to collect whatever food is left. The Empire is paying a tidy sum for taking the rest of the harvest, but money does very little for those planets and moons soon to enter winter. The squad leader says the farmers can willingly hand over the food or the soldiers will take it by force, but one way or another that food will be loaded onto the supply ship. While the farmers load the supplies onto the ship, one of the soldiers, we'll call him Maxis, harasses one of the women and almost shoots the young woman's father when he tries to save his daughter, but the squad leader and the other soldiers intervene. Squad leader orders Maxis to patrol the perimeter, sending 2 other soldiers along to keep an eye on Maxis. Then the squad leader apologizes to the village elder, saying that with all the rebellions and the Empire splintering over the past 10 years, the military's recruitment standards aren't what they used to be. Maxis, cursing his squad leader and spoiling for a fight, spots Gunner's cottage and tells the other 2 soldiers they should search it, to make sure the farmers aren't hiding a hoard of food. They demand entry and Gunner allows it, warily watching them as they search his home. Maxis spots Sam through the window and tells the other 2 soldiers he is going out to search the barn. He corners Sam in the barn, but she was taught how to defend herself by Gunner and stabs Maxis with a knife. She runs from the barn, screaming for her father. Gunner and the other 2 soldiers come out of the cottage in time to see a bloodied Maxis come out of the barn, running after Sam. Gunner does not hesitate. He grabs one of the soldiers' sidearms and shoots the 2 soldiers before shooting Maxis. Gunner tells Sam to grab their packs, while he rips out the floor in the cottage to grab the weaponry he hid there. The squad leader and the other 6 soldiers hear the shots and go to investigate. Gunner kills 4 plus the squad leader. The remaining 2 soldiers run back to the supply ship and it quickly leaves, heading up to the atmosphere. The farmers glare at Gunner in shock and he apologizes. They welcomed him and Sam years ago into their community and now his actions have doomed their village. He tells the farmers they need to flee. There will be at least 1 warship, maybe 2, that accompany the supply ships and it will retaliate. The Empire is not what it was. There will be no investigation into what happened. The whole village will be guilty and the Empire will make them pay. The village elder calms the farmers, saying they will explain what happened to the soldiers when they return, and all will be well. Gunner does not stay to argue. He knows they do not have time. He takes out the speeder he had hidden and he and Sam zoom away. The warship sends down starfighters to attack the village, punishing them for their perceived defiance. Sam looks back and sees the village burning. She begs Gunner to turn around. Gunner tells her he has a duty to protect her, but Sam says that the farmers are her people, that she and Gunner are responsible for what is happening, and that she has a duty to help them. After the starfighters withdraw, Gunner and Sam return to the burning village to look for survivors. A few members from at least 4 families are still alive. Gunner tells them the warship will send down ground troops to finish them off, and they all agree to go with Gunner and Sam into the mountains where they find the ship Gunner and Sam used to come to Velt. It is small, but as their goal is to escape before the warships catch them, Gunner says they'll worry about space another time. Act 2. Gunner at first wants to drop the farmers off at another farming community, but there is worry the Empire will still find them. So Gunner goes to a space trading station to find a bigger ship and get supplies. While there, they encounter a little trouble and pick up Tarak, who we are renaming Corlin, and he will be good at fixing mechanical problems. While they jump star systems, it is discovered that a bounty has been put on the rebelling farmers, and an Imperial task force under the command of Commander Noble is hunting them. With the added danger of bounty hunters on their trail, the decision is made to find either a rebellion group or make it to one of the star systems that successfully split from the Empire. While at another space station seeking information, a bounty hunter sees the obvious farmers and tries to find out who they are. He sees Gunnar and checks the bounty list, and sees there is a bounty on Gunnar that was posted 10 years ago and still active. The picture is of a younger Gunnar in military uniform. Gunnar kills the bounty hunter and the group flees. They confront Gunnar about the bounty and he looks at Sam, who nods. Gunnar then tells the farmers that he used to be a member of the elite palace guard, assigned to safeguarding the Emperor's family. He was there when assassins attacked during the peace celebration and killed the Emperor. Those of the palace guards who survived the attack were commanded by General Magnus to fall upon their own blades, in shame for having failed to protect the Imperial family, but Gunnar escaped. The reason why, he says, because Sam had already lost one parent and didn't deserve to lose a second as well. By defying General Magnus's order, though, Gunnar was branded a coward and a traitor. Soon enough they find Kai, who sells them the information they need to find the Crimsonata, and they head beyond the Empire's borders to the star system of the Sharan Kingdom, where King Levitica reigns. Act 3. Asking sanctuary of King Levitica turns out to be very easy. He grants it. The farmers will be integrated into a farming community and work for their room and board until they have earned enough to have their own farms. Free from passengers, Gunnar asks Sam what does she want to do, and she wants to find the Falx Crimsonata, to tell Gaius Falx of the innocent civilians who are being harmed by his attacks on the Empire's food storages. Gunnar and Corlin doubt that Gaius will listen, but Sam insists she has to try. King Levitica, after listening to Sam's story, and tells her where they can find Gaius. Gunnar and Corlin accompany Sam to the Crimsonata's stronghold, and Sam confronts Gaius. She tells him that by destroying the Empire's food storages, he is not hurting the Empire, but rather the farmers and other innocent civilians who will face starvation while the Empire feeds its military and core worlds. Gaius tells Sam she is a child who does not know what the Empire was like before, how the Emperor promised an era of peace, and General Magnus plunged it all into war again, looking for the one who had hired the assassins and attacking other star systems to conquer them. Gunnar steps forward and tells Gaius that the way to hurt the Empire is not by destroying its food supply, but its military outposts and weapon factories. Gaius sneers at the suggestion, saying that while he has a large force, they are not trained enough to take on the warships and dreadnoughts protecting those places. Gunnar says, "What if I could prove to you it could be done? With a small force you could slip in behind enemy lines and destroy one of the strongholds with minimum casualties. If we are successful, will you acknowledge my daughter is right and cease attacking the food storages?" Gaius agrees, and they plan their attack. Gunnar sets out the plan and Sam takes part in the discussions, but Gunnar insists she remain behind at the base while they attack. The Crimsonata's attack is successful and they flee back to the Sharan Kingdom, just as Noble's task force shows up at the destroyed outpost. Gaius wants Gunnar to stay and be the Crimsonata's strategist. Gunnar asks him what his goal is, and Gaius reveals that he wants to make the Empire pay for destroying his homeworld and kick Magnus off the throne, but he has no ambition to take the general's place. Gunnar asks, if one stepped forward, who was of Emperor Quirinus' line? Would you put that person on the throne? Gaius responds, only if that person promised to uphold the slain Emperor's promise of peace and having the Empire content with the star systems in its borders, no longer seeking conquest. Sam steps forward and reveals a necklace bearing the Emperor's emblem. She reveals that she is Princess Issa. Gunnar was her personal guard in the palace when General Magnus's personal troops turned against her family. Gunnar got her out to safety. The Crimsonata hail Samantha as their princess, and the first movie ends.
Now, I don't have a full detailed outline for what happens in movies 2 and 3, but here's a general idea of how they would go.
In the second movie, titled The Rebellion's Princess, the rebellion is growing, with Gunnar planning the strikes and Issa taking a more active role in leadership. The Crimsonata has formed alliances with the other rebellions, and they are striking the military outposts in the outer systems of the Empire, working their way towards the core worlds and the capital planet. They have a couple of run-ins with Commander Noble, the first time taking him by surprise so he is forced to retreat, and the second time they are forced to abandon an attack when his task force shows up. Kai makes an appearance several times, selling them information or weaponry before he finally joins them. General Titus is found, a former general who served under Emperor Quirinus and disagreed with how General Magnus led the Empire after the Emperor was slain. Titus led his troops in revolt but was defeated. His troops surrendered and were killed while Titus was put in chains. He is a slave at a military outpost, the Crimsonata attack, and he is freed. He recognizes Issa when he sees her, for she looks very much like her mother, the Empress. Titus gathers more allies to Issa's cause and helps Gunnar in planning their moves against the Empire. Kai betrays the rebellion, setting up a deal Gunnar and Issa need to present for, and Noble captures them. The reason for Kai's betrayal will either remain the same, the reward, or because Noble has something over him, perhaps threatening his family. Commander Noble sees Gunnar and knows who he is, revealing Gunnar's backstory to the rebels and his own troops. Gunnar was not wanted because he refused to kill himself, but rather because he is Arthur Lace, an orphan adopted by General Magnus and honoured by the Emperor for his service with a place among the elite palace guard. Noble then plays with Issa's recollection of what happened the night her family were assassinated, trying to throw doubt on Gunnar's intentions in saving her. Before or after they escape, Issa demands Gunnar tell her the truth, and he does. Gunnar was ordered by General Magnus to kill Princess Issa. Being but 4 years old at the time, the princess had been in the nursery during the night celebration and Gunnar had been guarding the door. I couldn't do it. It was the one command since he adopted me that I could not obey. Gunnar tells her. Magnus's search for Issa is not to set her on the throne, but to remove her from the line of succession. So long as there is any doubt on whether or not Princess Issa is alive, Magnus cannot be crowned emperor. He is regent only. Perhaps Commander Noble will die during Gunnar and Issa's escape, or be wounded and brought back for the third film. The third movie will be titled The Princess's Crown, and it will be a build-up to a great final battle between the Rebellion and General Magnus's armada before the Rebellion successfully makes it to the capital planet. It will be revealed that Magnus assassinated the Emperor because Quirinus was going to disband the bulk of the military after the celebration was over. Enough troops and ships would be kept to safeguard the Empire's borders, but since they would not be conquering any more star systems, the rest of the troops would be sent into reserve and encouraged to take up a civilian profession such as farming, tailoring, etc. Magnus's own power would be reduced, and he could not suffer the indignation of his decorated troops being sent to fulfill mundane tasks. Having a thirst for conquest and bloodlust, General Magnus launched his coup and ordered his son, Arthur Lace, to kill Princess Issa. It was not until after the fighting in the palace was over and Emperor Quirinus lay dead at his feet that his son's betrayal was discovered. The Crimsonata launch an attack on the capital planet, which is heavily defended. Gunnar manages to slip through, his mission to reach Magnus and end everything once and for all. Magnus and Gunnar fight. Magnus curses ever allowing Gunnar to live, and Gunnar reveals why he spared Princess Issa, for he had realized Magnus was killing her family just as he had killed Gunnar's own. Whether because Gunnar's parents were a political threat to Magnus, or Gunnar's mother had once spurned Magnus's love. Gunnar stares at General Magnus. I took the princess to defy you, to stop your plans to become emperor. You didn't deserve to replace Emperor Quirinus. You're just as General Titus said you were, battle-mad and drunk with power, but you couldn't control it when it was yours. The people rebelled against you, and the empire you craved is but a shadow of its former self, splintered and tearing itself apart. In the fight, General Magnus is killed, but Gunnar is grievously wounded. Issa comes to the palace and finds Gunnar gasping for breath. Tearfully, she thanks him for saving her and protecting her all those years, and Gunnar smiles, telling her she will be a great empress. He dies in her arms. Issa is crowned empress, and the remnants of the empire rally to her to rebuild what her father built and carry out the promise of peace. The last scene is Issa placing flowers on Gunnar's grave, the father she will always remember.
So, there are obviously a lot of changes from the original Rebel Moon script to what I have. The main being I threw out the idea of warriors needing to come protect the village. The reason I did this is because this idea doesn't work in a setting where the antagonist is an empire with dreadnoughts referred to as planet killers. The idea of warriors being able to defend a village works in Seven Samurai because it's samurai versus bandits. It works in Magnificent Seven because it's professional gunfighters versus outlaws. And it works in A Bug's Life because Flick is able, with the actual troops' help, to inspire the ant colony to stand up for themselves against the bullying grasshoppers. But in Rebel Moon, the Empire has ships that can fire from orbit. Let me repeat that. They can fire from orbit. They don't need to be so close that a man can run up some crates and stab a spear into the pilot gunner. Korra's warriors and the farmers do not have the weaponry to fight against an armada raining fire down upon them. Sure, the Empire needs the food, so they'll send down troops to collect it first, but guess what? If the village fights back, game over. Velt can't be the only place in the galaxy with food, so aerial bombardment. Another reason Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven, and Bug's Life work is because the bad guys aren't expecting resistance when they return for the food. So the good guys have time to train the villagers, set up traps, etc., before the bad guys show up again. But in Rebel Moon, Korra and her merry band have lost the element of surprise. Noble caught them. He knows who they all are, why they are banding together, and he reports this to Belisarius. He isn't going to wait 10 weeks to return for the food. He's gathering his armada and going there straight away. Yes, he has orders to capture Korra and he'll try, but if he starts losing troops trying to capture one person, guess what? Aerial bombardment. The Empire can't afford to be seen as a laughingstock, failing to squash a farmer's rebellion, so Noble should bomb the heck out of that village. Look for Korra's corpse in the debris and present that to Belisarius. Now, I did want to talk about Kai for a minute. I've noticed in some reviews of Rebel Moon that people have a problem with Charlie Hunnam's accent, but he just sounds like he's from Belfast, and even if he didn't, this movie does take place in the future and Kai's homeworld was destroyed. He's been traveling around the galaxy for who knows how long, so it would be understandable if his accent wasn't 100% authentic anymore. Now, when you have a group of people who don't welcome outsiders and only have each other to talk to, then yeah, they should all have the same accent. In my rewrite, I also give Tarak's character a skill that is useful to the group, because how does riding a griffin help them protect the village? I've seen in a lot of reviews where this scene is said to be a ripoff of Harry Potter and Avatar, and it is. In Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, the Hippogriff shows up several times and helps Harry rescue his godfather. In Avatar, Jake has to not only learn how to ride this pterodactyl knockoff as part of his becoming a full-fledged member of the Na'vi tribe, but tame one that will be his mount for the rest of the movie, until he trades it in for a bigger model. But in Rebel Moon, how does Tarak riding the Bennu aid Korra and Gunnar in their quest to protect the farmers? How does it show them he is a skilled fighter? It doesn't. Nothing about their initial meeting with Tarak should convince them that willingly putting their freedom on the line is worth the gamble. Also, you know what's sad about this scene? That thing is dead. Tarak didn't tame it or break it, which was part of the deal to earn his freedom, and it attacked and killed the ranger. We all know what happens to a wild animal when it kills someone. So, congratulations, Tarak. Your Atta-girl line is stupid. So, what were your thoughts on Rebel Moon, and what did you think of my rewrite? See you in the comments below, and hope you all find a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.